Yo, what's up guys? Ali Nadem here for Shamshir Sound with another tutorial. What we're going to talk about today is making a big room kick from scratch. Now I have a sexy lead that I've made so that we have a cool bouncy lead to play with our big room kick, and we're going to be making this kick from scratch in Native Instruments Massive. So I'm going to show you guys step by step how I would make a sub kick, a punchy kick, mostly entirely in Massive. Now we might layer a small transient or punch of a kick on top, but we're going to try our best to make this all in-house. Now before we get started guys, make sure you guys smash the like button because YouTube is screwing over everyone and we need all the support we can get for this channel. It only takes a second. Go ahead and smash the like button, smash up the likes, drop a comment, let me know what you guys want to see in the upcoming sample pack so I can take care of any requests you guys have. And without further ado, let's jump right in. Let me play for you guys what I have. I think this is from that song Ecuador. Ecuador! So I made a replica of that and I moved it to, I'll show you guys here. I moved it to F. So the bass note is F. Anytime you're struggling, you don't know what you should make the bass note, hum with it, find that bass note, find that origin note. Because when I play this back, I'm like, yeah, F. And then when it comes up, it'll come to G sharp, I believe. And there was an alternate ending I could have made too with A sharp, but we won't make it sophisticated. We're just going to stick with F, G sharp, back to F. So now that we know our bass notes that we got to hit, let's go to this big room kick and let's start doing some sound design. So we know that we gotta do F in G sharp, and we're gonna hit Control A, Control Q to quantize. We'll move this down. Control A, Control down arrow to move them all down one octave. Pretty simple bass line. It's not doing anything crazy, but it's going to be great for the purpose of this tutorial because we don't want to make it too sophisticated. Got that voice crack in there. All right, so we have this basic 8 bar, the same 4 bar repeated. And when we think of a big room kick, big room kicks actually have a lot going on. You know, they have punch, they have body, they have so much frequency. It's almost like the whole frequency spectrum is taken up when you have really punchy kicks. So there's no right or wrong when you make the kick, but there are some certain rules that you need to abide by, much like when you make a normal kick. When you have that initial punch is generated by a fast initial pitch bend, and then you still have also the sub body. That can be a sine wave, that can be a square wave, it can be a mix in between, and a lot of that grit is going to be generated through your distortion, through your noise, through your EQ. And you have to have slap and top to the kick. So that's going to be through the air we generate through those methods, but also with some top EQ. And we have to give it body by not only the sub oscillator, whether that be sine or square, but usually something in between as well. So let's see what we can do with this. Let's go ahead and hit detached so we can play this back without losing this window. First things first, let's go ahead and make this monophonic. Okay, we don't want this polyphonic. We're only playing one note. What we're also going to do, I'm going to hit trigger 0 reset for all of these. We're going to do this preemptively so that we do not have a problem with overlaps. So it always triggers a new note. It's always going to be a new envelope. So let's focus on this one here. I'm going to go to -24. See here, we got that nice sub bass. If you're wondering, is it too low? That's too low. When it becomes floppy and sloppy, that's too low. So -24, I'm gonna go to the sine square. I really like this one. It's a wavetable between sine and square wave, and there's a lot of juicy harmonics as you can see in the square. So we'll leave it on leave it halfway. We'll play around with that. Now, one thing we're going to have to make sure we do is mess with the pitch bend. Now, question is, how extreme do we do? See how we get that pitch? So let's play around with envelope 1. we're doing 2 octaves. Just like that, in 2 seconds, we got a little punch. And now play around with that. That punch can be dictated by the decay and also the extremity of the punch. We're doing 2 octaves. If you did 3 octaves, you might get even a better result. You know what I mean? Like, you get that punch. So let's play back this MIDI whilst tuning this and tuning the decay. One thing we can do also to emphasize this punch is think of an actual kick. A kick itself is not like a rectangle. You know, Zen World and a lot of other guys will mention this. To give that punch, reduce the level a bit so that you get this nice, you know, the punch at the beginning. Now, we don't have to worry about attack because we want that fast spike. But when you reduce the level a bit, sometimes it can help to accentuate and exaggerate that initial punch a bit more. I like where it is here because we'll distort this and see what we can get. Now, because that initial envelope 1 is giving a little bit of attack, it's being used here, we can also give it a multi-purpose and throw it on the noise. Now, this is the brightness, the color, so this will be darker noise, this will be brighter noise. We want a bright noise. Let's go ahead and bump this up. We're going to see if we want to keep that. It's a bit obnoxious, but we're going to keep experimenting, you know? You won't know until you just experiment. Let's turn on the EQ. So we have it at 55 for high shelf. And let's add a filter because this is going to be really important because we can really bring everything together. Putting the filter on top will really complement the sound. So we'll use the Daft filter, and I'm thinking I kind of want to experiment with a automation of this. So let's first make it sound transparent. It's not a big difference in the sound, but let's see how far we can crank the resonance before it becomes really bad. So we'll just leave it at 6, and let's go ahead and see what we can do with envelope 2. That's cool. It's sounding punchy. It does sound a bit GABA-esque. It sounds very disco. And so we're going to have to manipulate these characters by adding a bit more. We'll introduce a oscillator at maybe -12. And we're going to add some distortion and some feedback. Feedback is a great way of giving some grit to your sound. It does generate a bit more like low, mid harmonics. So if you need to make up for something that was lost, I find that the feedback can help a lot. So let's first check out Oscillator 2. We're going to do the same thing with this one. And let's turn it on. That's grungy. I like that. Not all the way because it's a bit too extreme, but halfway it has this like grit. It's giving a bit more of the low mid harmonics. I like that. Let's try Saw Wave 2. They're both pretty similar. We'll just leave it on Oscillator Saw Wave 1. This is a nice mix now. We have like -12 saw wave. We have -24 in between sine and square wave. Now let's see if maybe it benefits us. Ooh, I went to 37. If it benefits us, maybe introducing something with high harmonics. For now, let's just keep it 2 oscillators, and let's go ahead and look at the feedback. That definitely gives it more body in the low mid. That's what I'm hearing. Let's really bring out this distortion out. Now let's take a look at the routing. I'm not too concerned about the serial parallel. I'm just going to leave that for the routing. But what I am going to change is the routing of the insert. So this is insert 2 and 1. I want 2 to be right before the master, and for 1 to be right after the filter. We could also experiment before the filter. That way it'll clean up the distortion and give it that nice sweep still. So sine shaper, really bad. It's giving it way too metallic, way too thin. It's taking away the body. Same with this parabolic shaper, not too great. I'm thinking maybe the clipper. Almost no effect, so let's try Bit Crush. Bit Crush has always been like my go-to since my early days. You know, Bit Crush, a great effect you guys want to download that's free is Tau Bit Crusher. Headhunters uses it. I used to use it a lot. I still do. It gives a lot of grit because when you crush a sound, you're adding a lot of noise. You're reducing the sample rate. You really give grit to your sound. It really pops out. So in terms of this kick, it could add a lot of grunge to that kick. Hear that difference? This is without. With. Gives it that little like Suave Man, Superman kind of grunge added on top of it. So I like it there. What I like to do sometimes, experimenting, if you guys are using Massive, you know, I like to throw on a knob. If I find somewhere I like and I want to do little precision experiments, I'll throw on a macro just for the sake of like testing something. Because you can always mute it. That adds a lot of grunge. So let's find that sweet spot. One thing to do right now that's very important is like, yeah, there's a lot going on, but we should also take a look at the spectrum. I recommend Voxengo Span, which is free. Let's see what is going on. Let's see if we're like filling and hitting those harmonics that we want. So we're going to turn off Bit Crush. You can see Bit Crush really accentuates those higher, that slap that it gives to it. I like this, you know, it's a bit over the top with the crushing, but that's the point. We're experimenting. I never thought we would get this result. Now we can tailor this sound. So we're really in the tailoring stage. We're going to call this like crush. Okay. We're going to call this resonance. Just put res. Let's tweak this resonance And we haven't even done any effects, right? I really like to get this as good as I can in the box, in the sandbox. Brooks does this a lot too. When you make something really great in just the VST instrument, you will then have a lot more capabilities, I find, especially when you put effects on. But, you know, find what works with you. You know, if you like working with a lot of effects as opposed to within the instrument, then do that if that's what you enjoy. So I don't find the resonance actually benefiting here. You have to remember that when you boost high, a lot of times the low takes a hit. So there's always this give and take with stuff. I am going to, however, boost the low shelf and see how much low end we can get out of this. Okay, I like it there. Let's see, we have this at 55. Let's boost the high shelf. Okay, so I have low shelf at 55, high shelf at 57. And at this point, what I'm going to do is we're going to see if perhaps we can do something with insert 2. And we still haven't used up the 2 effects here. So let's see what can we do with this. And I'm thinking we can either do a big crush again or maybe like a clipper. But I'm thinking the clipper probably is not going to yield a good result. That just sounds so GABA. And I mean, if that's what you guys want, do that. And I mean, I'm going to give this to you guys. It's going to be a free download. It's a bit too much. So that's impossible, parabolic. Not a big fan of that. Same with that. I'm going to try Big Crusher. I think it's almost non-existent. The knob is at 9, just to the point where it's introducing some noise. Let's go ahead and look at the distortion we can add. Massive, you can't put drive distortion on FX2, so I like to use FX2 for reverb purposes. Obviously, we're not going to put reverb on this kick. That's going to totally ruin the low end. But we're going to try to do something like a Bronner tube, classic tube. These 3 will give distortion and really pump it up. So we'll see what we can do here. What I'm hearing is that it's bringing a bit more definition. It's probably getting a bit louder, but it definitely sounds good, and we should compare it to classic and Teletube. I just thought of Teletubbies. Classic has something about it. It sounds like unique, changes the character a lot. I'm just deciding between Bronner or classic. I like the way the classic kind of has a bit more bounce. It has a bit more dynamics in the way that it sounds like it's a bit more punchy. It sounds a bit more like it's breathing. So I'm going to stick with classic too. So I'm going to leave it at 18. We're not going to do anything with FX2. So thus far, we're pretty happy with this. The only thing I would recommend trying to experiment with, because it's easy to turn them on and off, are the modulation oscillators. So we'll see if the modulation oscillators can give any more grunge. We're going to go ahead and try FM, but keep in mind, put your same pitch automation for this as well. Otherwise, you might have this imbalance. We're not using that, so just double click to turn that off. So it's adding more harmonics. It sounds like it's adding the FM oscillator as a layer of Oscillator 1. The alternative is it doesn't seem like it's doing anything to Oscillator 2. So let's see if we want to keep this. I'm not too sure about that, so let's skip that. Let's try ring modulation. So we're going to skip the whole modulation oscillator, and everything for the voicing and everything looks pretty good. Now let's look at the levels, because I know that our lead is pretty loud. It's not hitting straight 0 dB, but we're going to make this kick just a slammer. We're going to just make it straight 0 dB. I'm going to put on Camel Crusher. And I have a preset here called Filter, where I have this all the way up, no resonance, and just master on. Camel Crusher also acts as a 0 dB hard limiter, but it does roll off the low pass around 16 kilohertz. So keep in mind, it can, like if you're worried about your high end, keep that in mind. It does do that, and that's evident when you look right here. So take a look at this. You can see that it rolls off the frequencies there. But Camel Crusher does it in a very pleasant way, and a lot of times actually sounds better. So that's why you see a lot of producers use Camel Crusher. So let's see here how loud it is. We can either crank up the loudness in this or through Camel Crusher. Let's do it through the plugin. Fat. I don't even think we need to layer a kick on top. So let's go ahead and take a look at the EQ. We might want to filter out some frequencies. There might be a lot of going on, but we won't know without listening. So let's go ahead and listen to these two. This is the big room kick that we just made now with the lead, and let's make sure that sidechain is on. So it sounds good, but it's like, you know, it's so muddy. There's so much going on. This kick on its own sounds good, but the lead, you know, there's a lot of conflict. So let's go ahead and first see, can we clean out any frequencies we don't want from this? Because it's F, guys, you can type in notes directly into Pro Q, Pro Q2, Pro Q3. So I'm going to type in F0 and we get the frequency of 21 Hertz. So that's just going to help tighten up the low end. We're going to remove a bit of that. And let's put it behind Camel Crusher so that Camel Crusher catches that and limits that. The nice thing is that what we have now, you can now fiddle around with settings to get the kick how you like it, whether that be EQ, whether that be switching around waveforms, adding something, modulation oscillator. The possibilities are endless, but we have a foundation of something, a structure of a kick that we can then tailor how we like. So we'll fiddle around with it a bit more before we wrap up this video. Guys, make sure you guys are subscribed. If you've made it this long, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you guys watching these tutorials, and I hope you guys have something to learn and something that I can really give back to you guys. I'm so excited to be releasing the sample pack at the end of this month, and it's going to be free. So FYI, it's going to be great. I'm going to give you guys a lot of tools to improve your sounds and to just focus on your creative vision. So this kick is loud, and that's not the problem. I think the issue might be tweaking this decay. So we only shortened the decay by a bit. We're going to try to blast the drive. I do like the way the drive turns, like the drive sounds good when you crank it up, but I think I'm going to put, you can do this with a volume envelope, or you can do it also with one of these. I'm going to do it with 5, switch it to performer, switch it to mono, and hold your left mouse. We don't need the bottom row. Bring up this X fade to the top. We're going to be using this top row. Go ahead and hit load curve, and we're going to do this so that we have normal drive and maybe we go into a harsher drive. We'll create a dynamic kind of like automation. And then I'm going to put this, turn that off. So this rate is going to control how fast it goes into distorting it, driving it more. Okay, this is the hard limit. So the maximum, the lowest is going to be normal, max is going to be how far that's going to be. So from there up all the way to 100. It's becoming like Melbourne, but that's not what we want. So we'll turn this off. Almost not there, but it is. And we're gonna see if we can play around with weird stuff. Sometimes you want to do an automation to something else, like maybe this is gonna sound terrible. Let's see. Let's do the same thing, but we'll use performer 6, And we're going to do the same thing, crank it up slowly. And let's see. It's becoming like a Pinocchio, man. So that's not really benefiting us in any way. One thing that I'm going to try is with the noise, because we still have really not automated the noise in a fantastic way. What we'll try doing is actually the reverse. We want to do like maybe a bit more noise in the beginning, see if we can give a little bit more like high-end crisp. Uh-oh. What just happened there? Yeah, we gotta turn that off. Very subtle, but it does have a difference there. So we've just added the drive and the white noise. The white noise is adding a little bit more spike at the beginning of that pitch smack, and Performer 5 is adding, like, introducing a tiny bit more drive. And it's these nuances and small tweaks that will help give you shape to something like a kick drum, because it's very, I find, like, small tweaks, small precisions that you can do. So feedback, I like it the way it is. Let's see if there's anything we can do with the waveform. Let's go ahead and listen. What we'll do now is we will put on Transient Master. I did a kick tutorial the other day, how you can enhance your kick with white noise, Transient Master. There's a variety of ways you can enhance your kick, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just focus on just boosting maybe the attack, seeing if I can shape it in a simple way. Saturation is a great thing to do on really anything, and I recommend you guys try it on your leads, you try it on literally anything. Drop gun, they suggest a lot to play around with gentle saturation, and a lot of times you get great results by just increasing the gain on FabFilter Saturn and decreasing the output, just because passing through this plugin will also give saturation in itself. So you'll get a lot of great results just by messing with the input and output and also the dynamics. We'll put this right behind Camel Crusher, and we'll see what we can do. We'll leave this dynamics at 0, and we'll just do this 0. Turn off the lead. So let's turn off the effects and see what it sounds like. So with the effects, it definitely, the sub bass is a bit more prominent with it. But definitely the like the high end is so obnoxious, but hey, it is what it is. This could even work in a track where it's like more drum oriented or something like that. So what I did there was, I really love this tone EQ by FabFilter Saturn. You can shape it, your sound, with just bass, mid, treble, and this bottom one, presence, which is like the resonating air. It really tweaks the high end, and doing this gave, you can see here with it off, on, gives it more of a slap. And a lot of times that high end is very important. What we'll do is copy. So when you hit copy, you can go to A or B and make adjustments and compare. So we're going to go here on B, and we're going to mess around with the dynamics. We're going to reduce the lead a bit more, and what can help you with your focus too is merge everything in the middle. This way you're going to hear everything in the center. Everything's in mono. When you do this, you can see if the lead is too loud. The last thing I want to do is I want to add a envelope. You know what? Let's keep it easier. Let's add envelope or LFO7. We're going to switch this one to a performer as well. Yeah, these are all mono. And what we're going to do is we're going to make it such that, okay, great, we're not using that. We're going to make it such that we can make it go down. So we have everything the way it is, but right before the kick finishes, maybe go down in sub frequencies. This will give it a bit more movement. So what I mean is like it'll hit bow, bow, just right at the end. So we're going to clear all this. We're going to add this type of curve. And always make sure you pay attention to this. If you're wondering why your performer is not working, make sure you have it on either or if you want it in between. But I want it at the top here. And let's see how this sounds on its own. You see, that's too much. I just want it introducing just a bit. It's so subtle. It's like a 1 to 5%, but I like it there. We're going to leave that on. And this is almost pretty much a wrap, guys. You can see this is all from scratch. Nothing with this is not rehearsed or anything. I just wanted to show you guys what I would do, what my methodology would be. It's not perfect by any means. It's so trashy, but the fundamentals are there. You can take this and you could put like something like a kickstart. You guys could take out, like using extreme short and free punch, you guys could make a little space for maybe a punch of a kick. A lot of times I do that. And that way you can get a different type of transient. while leaving the body of something else, or you could just roll with this. You know, the benefit you have when you do these type of things is that way you can get creative with your notes and start playing different notes, because a lot of times with big room it gets boring when we're playing the same note for 8 bars, 16 bars. What makes bass sound great is when we have movement and we go from F and we hit a 7th note or a 5th note and we come back down. It makes that bass a lot more impactful and enjoyable to hear. So that's my quick 2 cents. But let's take a quick look thus far. So a quick recap. We removed some of the subsonic frequencies around below 21 hertz. Transient Master is on with a hard limiter with a boost of sustained 4% at 6%. Then we have Fab Filter Saturn giving a lot more slap to that as well with a plus 1 dB or plus 0.75, minus 1 dB. Dynamics at 0.174. We don't have the high quality on. It didn't make a huge difference to me. Then we have Camel Crusher for, again, final limiter. And that is pretty much it. So let's go ahead and listen to these two. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. This FLP is going to be a free download, so go ahead and download that in the video description. You'll have all the sounds that I've made here. And that wraps it up. If you enjoyed this, guys, please be sure to smash up the likes. Drop a like for your boy. It means so much to me, and I really appreciate that you guys tune in, listen in to what I have to say, because, you know, this is one man's opinion at the end of the day. And this kick is not perfect, but the fundamentals are there, and I'm sure you guys can dabble into this and take it and make it into something, whatever you want to do with it. It's all yours. So guys, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We just hit 100 subs. I'm super happy. Thank you so much for subscribing. There's going to be a lot of beautiful content launching in the future, and make sure you guys hit the notification bell. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys want to see for the upcoming sample pack, any future tutorials. I'd gladly want to check out your suggestions. And that's it. I hope you guys have a great weekend. And that's Ali Nadem for Shamshir Sound checking out. Take care.